Thanks, Matt. So I'm Allison Kealy, and if you don't know me, my research expertise is in spatial and space. And so what that means is I don't really know anything about disasters. Well, not the kinds that we're talking about today anyway. And so I'd really like to thank Joe for that, because I think the importance of what we're doing today is based on the fact that we do have a lot of expertise locked up in universities, and it's by collaborating with the communities and the practitioners that we're able to actually make meaningful and directed impact on vulnerable communities and peoples. And I think that's an important reminder, so thank you very much, Joe, for that. So just to give you a bit of background into Swinburne, the way we are also, like Federation, have pockets of activity related to disaster. We're really set up as a group of institutes, and I'm really delighted because I've got Rebecca, who's the director of the Space Institute. I've got Gavin, who's the director of the Health Innovation Institute. I can see Sally in the audience as well, and Alan, who will be chairing the session later this afternoon. What we have are a group of people running innovation institutes and platforms. And really what we're trying to do is look at the intersection of these platforms and institutes and identify where we can create impact. I'm the director of the Innovative Planet Institute, and that for me makes me almost inseparable from Rebecca's Space Technologies Institute, because a lot of the work that we do that impacts on resilience, and you'll see that in the Innovative Planet structure, georesilience is a key theme in there. And what we mean by georesilience is we have a lot of activity and capability that are looking for homes in the area of resilience and disaster. So if we were able to build for Victoria a way to very quickly respond during emergencies, during recovery operations, if we're able to harness all of this capability, the very best capability sitting in all of the universities, and make this available to communities and decision makers when we are in the middle of a disaster, then we would be creating impact. And impact is a really important thing, because I love a good grant and I love a good paper. They're some of my favorite things to get as an academic. But I think when we're looking at resilience and communities, we're looking at measuring impact in a very different way. And once again, Joe, sorry to keep picking on you, but you know, the people in there are, if we get this right, then the difference will be to them. And that is what impact is. So part of what we're trying to do at Swinburne in the Innovative Planet Institute is to look at what impact might mean. And we're using the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a way of indicating what are we doing that's really making a difference. That said, love a good grant and love a good paper too. So just to give you a quick snapshot on the kind of activities we have going on in Swinburne, I don't really necessarily want to focus. I picked out the ones that were related to disasters and resilience, but I think it's really important to look at what the underlying capabilities contributing in these cases are. So in the first one, and I think this is one of Rebecca's as well, thanks Rebecca, we've got researchers at Swinburne who are actively putting sensors into space. They're working with the German Space Agency. They're building sensors. They're engineering and designing hyperspectral imaging sensors that gives us really interesting pictures of the Earth and allows us to do really smart things about monitoring parameters about the Earth that are relevant to disasters and resilience. The most important thing about this is not about the imaging or the ability to kind of do this in an engineering technical way. It's the fact that we have people in Victoria who are able to build sensors in a lab, take it out of the lab, and get it installed on the International Space Station, right? We have that capability sitting in Victoria. And when it comes to how do we use that, disasters aren't the only thing. There are many uses for that. But it means that that's something that's sitting here that we can pick up and use. So it's for people sitting in this room, this kind of collaboration, to pose the questions of how do we access and use that capability in the best way that benefits the people of Victoria. At another level, we've got projects that are with the SmartSat CRC. And again, this is Rebecca's. Rebecca, why aren't you up here? And the idea being that we're using AI to look at the imagery and be able to detect bushfires. Early detection of bushfires being a key task that we want to get involved in. Now, AI is something that we're probably all doing at all the universities. And so for Victoria, we probably have a high level of capability sitting in the field of AI that we're all doing at the different universities. Imagine if we put all of that together and pose ourselves some really challenging questions. If we were to take all the data that is locked up in all those data platforms that require different formats and different access requirements and different government passwords and different friends in different places to enable us to do that. If we were to able to break down those barriers and take the very best of what we have in all our universities and put it to solving these challenges, what we can do. I love the community co-design process. I don't know anything about it, but it strikes me that any program of work that is saying the academics don't have all the answers is a really good starting point. We're one piece of a much bigger puzzle, but we're only one piece. And if we're not talking to the communities, if we're not talking to the decision makers, if we're not talking together and designing solutions, we design things that aren't fit for purpose. Prior to coming into Swinburne, I worked for the Department of Transport and Planning as an executive director for surveying and spatial, and I had a large number of academics come into me with brilliant ideas. They were telling me how they could solve my problems, but they weren't telling me how to integrate this into my work and operational planning. So without that pathway to adoption, all we have are really good ideas. We don't really have a mechanism for people actually using them. Love a good idea myself, now that I'm academic again. Love a good idea, but I'm also now aware that I need to work with other people to build that idea into an actual outcome. The last one, which is probably the one I think I know a little bit more about, which is about the UN GGIM. This is the mapping agencies, the UN. It's about how we agree on fundamental data sets. I think I spoke to Pascal today about the idea that how do we know what fundamental and foundational data sets do we require in an emergency? What do we require for recovery? And how do we access this? There is no shortage of data. We're putting sensors, as I just said, up into space, which is creating even more data. No shortage of data. No shortage of AI that can help us analyze this data. What we do have is an inability to actually pose the right questions to those data sets. And so I guess for VDRA, one of our challenges is, what are the questions? What are we really trying to answer? And to do that in a way where, it's if this group didn't exist, what do we lose in this process? I think it's really important that we know what questions we want to answer, find the best capability amongst all of us. It's not a competition. It's about doing something that will make a difference. Thank you very much.